Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Okay. I'm really hoping that this tech thing doesn't do me dirty today. Yesterday, there were a lot of you here with me, tons of comments happening, and it wasn't allowing me to see you or the comments. So, if you are here live, please comment live in the comments below so I can see you. And if you're watching this on replay, please comment replay below so I can see you and so I know that you're here. I am going to pull it up. Got my insurance policy here today. So I'm going to pull this up and turn down the sound. Okay, see, now I can see the comments. And now I can also see who is here. So I will be doing my best to get to comments. If there are any questions, though, please leave that to the end. I will answer questions at the end if there are questions. But let's get into it. Yesterday, and just quickly, if you have not watched day one's video from yesterday, please do that before diving into this one. It will make a heck of a lot more sense. Please have your free guide with you. Mine is all over the place. The pages are all out of order because I wanted to use specific pages for certain things, but this is what I'm talking about. You should have this. If you don't have this, please do. I'm not showing it very well. Please do let me know, and I will make sure to get you the link for it. Okay. Again, to avoid tangents, I have written down an outline to keep me settled. If you can see me and hear me, please press 1 in the comments so that I can, please press 1. Please put a 1 in the comments so I know that you can see me and hear me. I think it's good. But welcome to day 2 of the manifestation reset. Yesterday, I introduced you to who the heck I am, what my background is in all of this, why I went from being a holistic health practitioner to doing what I do now, and so much more. So if you want to learn about that, please check out yesterday's recording, and it's over in the featured section where I will be pinning this one as well. Yesterday was about diagnosing your hardware. We found the leaks, the validation seeking, the proof checking, the over-explaining, the getting stuck in the how loop, all of it. So I'm going to be diving in today to more of that and unpacking things. I'm going to give it a couple minutes right now, just because I just realized I'm a couple minutes early and I don't want to do that to people. So I'm going to start with a story because I was asked by a couple people in yesterday's live to tell the stories of inspired action, and these are true stories from clients that have worked with me and things that have happened to them. I have my own inspired action stories. But as today is about inspired action, I'm going to, well, in part, it's about inspired action. I am going to tell you these stories, firstly, because you wanted to hear them. And secondly, you need to understand how this works. We think we know all things, right? We think we need to know how to make something happen, and then that's our responsibility. And inspired action will always catch you off guard. And if you are manifesting by using these principles, the quantum principles, energy, frequency, it's always going to be unpredictable. It will always catch you off guard. Always. It's inspired action is a thought you wouldn't normally think, to do something you wouldn't normally do, and it usually has nothing to do, or it seems like it has nothing to do with whatever it is you're actually wanting. Okay, so there was a story about a woman I was working with a couple years ago now, and as happens in my work, a lot of people end up with the realization, once they really align with their authentic selves, the guided experience with me on the 28th is going to help us do that. It's going to actually facilitate it for you. But once we align with our innermost authentic selves, what happens is we suddenly end up realizing, oh my gosh, maybe this marriage is no longer in alignment with me. Maybe my group of friends is no longer in alignment with me. Maybe the career that I'm doing or whatever, even if it's an entrepreneurial thing that I'm doing, maybe that just doesn't align with who I authentically am. Because we go through most of our lives without cultivating that relationship with our innermost authentic selves. And so we end up doing things in our lives in order to make something happen, or in order to satisfy some wound that we have, or for people-pleasing tendencies or patterns and programs, right? Usually dictate our creation. Or we're just creating by default without actually creating ourselves. And I'm going to get to that today too. So this woman realized all of a sudden that she did no longer resonate with her group of friends. She wasn't resonating with who they really were, and she was realizing, all they do is talk about people. I want to be friends with people who understand these deeper aspects of life and who can chat with me about all of this and co-create together and all of that kind of vibe, right? So as it was in her current reality, she would meet with 3 women, or 3 or 4 women, every couple weeks, definitely at least 1 or 2 times a month. And they would go for tea, have some lunch, whatever. And she said, I don't know. I'm a single mom of a young child. She's a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't really go out and do things. How the heck am I going to make new friends, she said. So her manifestation, she wanted a group of friends. That's what she wanted. Remember, that's the thing. It's not about the thing at the end of the day. It's about the emotional experience you would be living if you had the thing that you want. That aside, she wanted a new group of friends, had no idea how she was ever going to make that happen. So what could she do? She could go out and start going and doing things that she really didn't really want to do, because that's how you make friends, right? The how is never up to us. So I taught her exactly how to match the frequency of what she actually wanted, which was individual to her. And she matched that frequency. She used the very specific theta brainwave period times of the day. She used the methods I gave her, and she matched the frequency. And so I told her, keep your intention set every morning. And when you set an intention, it's really helpful because your subconscious mind does the work for you. So you don't have to monitor everything. You just set the intention. Inner being, higher self, I would love if you would just let me know if there's some kind of inspired action that's trying to reach me. So that's what she did every single morning. And she just kept matching the frequency without looking for the inspired action, right? If you're looking for the manifestation, looking for the inspired action, we talked about this yesterday, you are going to project a frequency of lack, because you can only look for something that doesn't exist. So match the frequency because it feels good, and set the intention to stay open to the inspired action. So one morning she had to drive her son to work, and she was already 10 minutes late. And so she was getting her son ready. All of a sudden, she gets this random urge to drive to the school an alternate route. Why the heck? That doesn't have anything to do with meeting new friends, but it is a thought I wouldn't normally think, to do something I wouldn't normally do. I'm going to follow it because it's got to be inspired action, right? So in order to do this, you'd have to be extra late. This is a longer route. So she chose being extra late to take this route that made no dang sense to drive her kid to school. So on her way, she sees this little farmer's market set up in a parking lot of a soccer field area. There's like 4 little booths there. And she just says to herself, well, I have nothing to really do after I drop him off, so I'm going to stop by there and check it out on my way back. So she ends up stopping by there on her way back and talking with the vendors and meeting a woman who was selling herbal products, and they started chatting. They got along so well that they exchanged contact info. As they communicated over the next couple of weeks, the woman said to her, you've got to come check out these other women that I go for lunch with a couple times a month. You would love them. We talk about all the same stuff you and I are talking about. Sure enough, she goes, and now she has a whole new group of friends of the exact same number of women offering the exact same frequency emotional experience she was truly wanting to have in her life. Now, does this mean you have to blow up your old friendships and have some dramatic conversation? No, you just stop watering them like a plant. They will die off. Start watering what you want. Stop fighting what you don't. And that's a massive, just general life lesson. We always think that we need to wrestle our negative thoughts to the ground, right? Or wrestle the problem to the ground. Even with our traumas and our past, we got to figure out why we are the way we are and all of that stuff. Heal the inner child. And I'm not knocking any of that. If you would like to do that, that can be beautiful work. But it is not necessary to become the person you truly want to live as. Okay? So that's my story. Now that we're 5 minutes in officially, I am going to, okay, now I can see the comments over here. Let's hope they're accurate. Hi, Jolene, Mom, and Janet. Hi, hi. It's nice to be able to see you guys. All right, I've got more stories where that came from, but now that we're rolling, let's get into today's talk. So again, yesterday, I'm just going to repeat the very brief thing I said earlier when I didn't realize I was a little bit early. Yesterday, I introduced you to who I am and what my background is in all of this, what all my education was, how the heck I went from being a holistic health practitioner to doing what I do now and more. So if you want to know more about that, go check out yesterday's recording in the featured section where all the videos will be posted. Yesterday was about diagnosing your hardware. So we found the leaks. For some, it was validation seeking. For some, proof checking. For some, over-explaining. For many, getting stuck in the how loop. We talked about the reality and science behind what manifestation actually is. If you haven't followed me for long, I have a very left brain view on these things. This is why I wanted to figure out what the heck it actually is. What is manifestation? What's the reality behind it? What's the science behind it? What does it mean? And so we talked about all that. So go check out yesterday's video if you want to know more about that. We talked about the importance of nervous system calibration, exactly what the 3 steps are of actually manifesting what we want into our lives right now in real time, what inspired action really is, and so much more. And today, we're going to talk about why you're exhausted. At least I assume you're exhausted. I know that I was. Most people are hustling for the very things that should just be flowing to you. You think you're being productive. I was bad for this. But you're actually just spinning your wheels in survival mode, trying to make something happen. You're waiting for a sign from the universe, but you can't hear the signal because your nervous system is too loud. So today we're going to get clear on the difference between the command versus the hustle. Let me know in the comments if this is resonating yet, because I just feel like it's most of us. Hi Barb, hi Paula. I'm so excited I can actually see the comments today. Okay, let's check out the voltage leak map. I disorganized my papers. This one, the voltage leak map. We're going to look at where you're giving your power away. There is a massive difference between, hi Mary, between forced effort and inspired command. Hustle is actually just biological fear. I'm going to tell you exactly how to get around that for good today. Hustle is trying to make something happen because you don't actually believe that it's done, or you feel, this is what it was for me, I felt like I was the one that had to make it all happen. And if I wasn't trying and doing and, thinking of what I could do to make my dreams come true, then it possibly wasn't going to come true. And all that boils down to is not really believing in this. Because if you had enough information that you trusted, I went through, like I said yesterday, decades and thousands of dollars studying all of these deep, intense, really challenging subjects because I needed to do that for myself to be able to trust this information, because out there it feels so woohoo, right? Like, and there are amazing teachers out there. There are amazing teachers. And two of my favorites are Bashar and Abraham. But with Bashar and Abraham, they're channeling. It's an amazing thing that they can do. Not knocking it at all. But what is this really, you know? And then Joe Dispenza, a huge mentor of mine. I have attended his retreats and taken his courses and spoken with him, and he's amazing and I adore him. But he teaches very intense breath work, hour and a half, 2 hour, 4 hour meditations. What is that? You know, that was where I was at. I was trying to figure out, okay, do I need to be able to channel something? Do I need to be able to do intense breath work and meditate? And I just need to be able to trust this information. And how the heck and Bob do I know that this is true? So I went down the rabbit hole of really learning it all. And thankfully for you guys, here I am, so that you don't have to go do that. But you need enough information and you need to be able to trust it. And if you don't trust it, ask yourself why. We're going to get more into asking ourselves why and why that's so important a little bit later in this transmission that I'm doing here. Jolene, exactly. I have to do it to make it happen the way I want. I thought, yeah. And honestly, there is no, I want to just throw this out there. In one of my coaching calls this morning, I actually said this to the client. There is no magical endpoint where it's just done and you never react to things in an old way, or you never, you know, falter into this 3D kind of way of creating matter with matter. We can either create matter with matter, using whatever's around us to affect change in ourselves or our lives, or we can use energy to create matter. It's really about marrying both. But you will have times where this gets clouded. You will have times where you react to something in life, but there's something called an emotional refractory period, which I did a huge lesson on in the integration suite. I actually posted that this morning. So you need to be able to trust the information, because it is not up to you to do everything you need to do to make something happen. It will flow to you. And it will be completely unpredictable. And something you have to watch out for is that your brain is designed, the human brain is designed neurologically to predict. You're trying to predict all the time. Your brain loves prediction, and your subconscious and nervous system love to be able to predict something. So how many people are themselves or know someone who is a bit of a worst case scenario person? I was. Like, I'm trying to get ahead of it, to think of the worst thing that could possibly happen, that could go wrong, because maybe then I can help myself out of a possibly impending situation that doesn't even exist, you know? So here I am on a tangent. I apologize. Let's regroup, although it is helpful. Okay, should be flowing to you. If you think you need to do everything to make it happen the way that you want, ask yourself why, because I can guarantee you either don't have enough information, or you just don't believe the information that you know. And then why? Why don't you believe that? Do you not have enough proof? There's proof out there. There are hundreds and hundreds of scientific published papers on these topics that you can delve into, but whatever helps you, right? It's high effort. The hustle culture thing is high effort, low frequency. Inspired command is sovereignty. It's that quiet, clear nudge to, I don't know, send the email, make the call, close the door, metaphorically or literally. It's the thing you wouldn't normally think, to do something you wouldn't normally do that seems unrelated to what you want. And this is why people miss it. If it feels light, it feels like a statement of fact. So listen closely to this. If you're taking action in order to get something, you are in the hustle trap. So for example, the reason my business coach, manager, dude that I no longer work with would never let me do things like this is because if you do something like what I'm doing, spending 3 days of my time, because it's a lot more time after this transmission, chatting with you guys and posting and writing and all those things, right? If you're doing something like that, according to running a business, you're doing it to boost your business. I don't feel like that with my inspired action. I wanted to do this because I love springtime, because there's so many people in this group, and because I love interacting with you, and because I know how awesome this will be for you to hear. The messages I got yesterday after that live, oh my gosh, there were people saying that they were crying partway through and they didn't know why. Other people saying they finally heard something land that they've been wondering about forever. Other people saying that they finally feel hope. I had many messages yesterday and I'm unbelievably grateful to you guys for that. That means a lot to me. But that is what I'm doing. So look to see why you're doing something. So I'm not doing this to get something. I'm doing this because it feels good, because I had the inspired action. I don't care if anything comes of it, like, because what's coming of it right now is our communicating and having fun together doing this. So think about your own situation. Why are you doing the thing? Because I used to be so stressed out in my work, so stressed out, and I would be up so late creating programs and designing structures for my clients and whatnot. And I would ask myself, why am I doing this? Well, because I didn't feel that I felt like I needed to do more for the person, and I felt like I needed to, oh my gosh, all these reasons that were not authentic, right? It wasn't inspired action. It was what I thought I needed to be doing for my work in order to be the awesomest coach, mentor that I could be. So if you're doing something to get something, it's not inspired action. Just notice that. And yeah, there are things we have to do all the time in our lives, and that's okay. I reconcile that with my clients in different ways, but you can still do the things you need to do in your life, like your work and whatnot. But what about the other things that you're choosing to do? There's a hustle trap. I just want you to avoid the hustle trap. If you're taking action because it already feels like it's done and it just feels good, you are in inspired command, aka inspired action. The action might look, by the way, identical on the outside. Like you might be typing the exact same words in the email, for example, but the biological voltage is completely different. It feels different. One feels like dragging your feet through the mud, and the other feels like a natural flow action. One attracts and the other repels. So I have had people tell me, okay, Kelly, just what is the next thing for me to do in my life from where I stand? Because I can't see, from in your own stuff. It's really hard to see sometimes, even for me, in our own junk. But I have someone that is my mentor as well for this reason. I often will tell my clients exactly what to do. So I did get a whole bunch of messages yesterday that were also asking me for that advice. I can't do that in this situation because there's too many people, and I do have my clients that I really honor who are signed on with me. So I'll focus there in the integration suite. Check out the integration suite if you want to know step by step and still kind of do it on your own. Like maybe you don't want to work one-on-one with me or anyone else. There are places like the suite, that's why I built it, that will give you the exact step by step to do this on your own, in your own unique circumstances. And then I'm even in there to answer your personal questions still. Okay, so that is like the surgical precision aspect of this work. But what I can do today, and what I will do, is show you why you've been missing the commands you're already being given, or that you already have been given. And usually it's because your how loop is so loud that your intuition just really can't get a word in edgewise. It happens a lot. You don't need a better strategy. A lot of us think we need a better strategy then, but you do need a clearer channel. Thank you so much, Jolene, for letting me know that's landing. I'm super grateful to hear that, especially during this live. It lets me know I'm on the right track. I'm not losing anyone in the weeds. If I have lost anyone in the weeds and you're like, okay, I'm lost, let me know. And I will really try to explain it, because it's a lot of info, and it's a lot of new info for a lot of people. So it can be tough, but I'm here to help. Okay, so here's the diagnostic drill that you're going to be doing for yourself today. Look at your results from yesterday. If you are leaking your power, leaking voltage through checking for proof, as an example, your inspired action is going to be tainted by lack. So a lot of people will have a difficulty. I sure as heck know that I did back when I was really getting going with all of this. They will have a difficulty really deciphering if this is inspired action. And a lot of my clients will still send me a message. Like when I work with someone, they have access anytime. They can just shoot over a message, and they will often say, okay, I just got the impulse to do this, and I just want to check in if you think this is really inspired action or not. And I'll be able to see, like, that's tainted by lack. That's coming from lack. It's challenging because it can feel blurry sometimes, but this is why I'm telling you guys here now to think about why. Why are you doing that thing? Because I can guarantee that with inspired action, it's going to seem like you don't know why. Like, I have no idea why I'm doing this, just because it feels like something I want to do. It's something I have an urge to do. Like, I really wanted to do this, and I knew why, because I had the urge to connect. I wanted to interact and meet all these people in my community, because there's so many more people, like, basically every day. I want to meet you guys and talk to you guys and touch base, and that's so fun. So you might know why, but usually it's not going to make sense according to your goal. So my ultimate goal is to get to the levels of Abraham Hicks teaching huge groups, Joe Dispenza teaching huge groups. That's my ultimate goal. Doing this does not make sense to get there. Like, there are other things that I could be doing to get further to that goal, according to my mentor, but I don't care. This is my inspired action, right? So it doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to marry up with logic. A lot of people try to use their logic to decide what their inspired action is, or to decide what to do. Now, there are two parts of us. There is our inner being, higher selves, authentic self. That's one part of us. Then there is the 3D version, solid body us in this 3D reality. We are one and the same. However, there are two different sides to this, right? The 3D version of us, that's who has all the logic and who we think has the answers and who we think is actually capable of predicting things, not the truth. Then there's our inner being, higher selves, authentic self, who understands the connection with the quantum field, who understands frequency, who knows exactly what we really want deep down, even though this version of us thinks we want money or our soulmate or a house or a car. This version of us knows we just want to feel free in our lives. We just want to feel loved and seen for who we are. We want to be able to feel relaxed. We want to let go of trying to control everything. Like, these are the two sides, right? Your logic is not designed to figure out what to do. Your logic is there to figure out how to work with the inspired action when it comes to you from your authentic self. This is why I'm doing this experience on the 28th. On April 28th, I'm going to run this guided immersion experience with theta brainwave frequency music and specific wording, and I have just curated this whole experience specifically to link you up with your inner being, higher self, so you can hear the messages and shut up this logic brain, because it goes a mile a minute and it's dang loud. Okay, so your logic is not there to figure out what to do to make something happen. What to do is going to come to you via inspired action if you're matching the frequency properly. And then your logic is there to figure out, like, oh, okay, how do I actually work with that little nudge? What do I do with that? So my inspired action was to do this and have fun with you guys for 3 days. My logic brain over here comes in after and says, oh, okay, so in order to share this on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook to help more people, here are the things I would have to do on the back end, yada, 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 yada. If I tried to come at this from the logic standpoint, I would be off in the weeds, because now my logic is going to try to integrate it business-wise and whatever else, right? So now I'm losing the whole inspired action reason that I was going to do this thing. So you could end up doing the same thing, but all of a sudden, like I said before, the energy is different And the energy is not going to draw to you the things that you're wanting. It's going to drive you further into prediction and more logic and more hustle. I hope that was a good analogy. Your reminders are always refreshing. Thank you, Joan. Nice to see you in here. I'm super excited for the 28th too. Are you saying logic mind comes in to work out the details? Yeah, so you'll get inspired action. It's going to make no sense. It's going to be a thought you wouldn't normally think, to do something you wouldn't normally do. It's going to seem totally unrelated to what you want. Your logic is there to figure out, okay, how do I work with this then? And it's not always something you need to work with. I'm just saying that's the arena your logic belongs in. Like the woman who I shared about at the beginning of this transmission, this live here, she didn't need to figure out anything of the logic to follow the group of friends aspect. What she needed her logic for, and if you missed that, just check it out in the replay. What she needed her logic for, her inspired action said, take my kid to school, an alternate route that's going to make me extra late for absolutely no dang reason. That was her inspired action. Her logic says, oh, there's a little farmer's market there. I have time after I drop him off. I'm going to stop off there on my way home. Oh, this woman feels good. I'm going to be able to exchange information with her if I want. And all of that is driven by logic. If she let her logic drive the bus, so to speak, there's no stinking way she's going to go somewhere, a different route for no reason to make her kid extra late for school. How could that logically make sense? So if you let your logic drive, you will always be on the wrong sort of track. So logic is there to help you work with inspired action when it comes, and logic is here to help us navigate the 3D. We use our logic all the time. We just don't want to let the logic try to create stuff for us with energy, because it can't. It doesn't live there. It's in a different aspect of ourselves. Remember, if you're following that logic, you're always going to be taking action to get something rather than taking action because it's just already yours. That is the gap, and the gap is where your manifestation disappears, goes to die, so to speak. So if you let me know in the comments if you have had moments, or maybe you're having a moment now where you feel like you're doing all the things but nothing is really happening. You know, I've been there. I've had times where I'm like, what is happening? I'm going live on TikTok every day and I'm writing newsletters and and nothing was really happening. So I asked myself, why am I doing these things? What's the reason? Oh, so I can have a successful business. Was it ever successful that way? No. I got hugely successful when I started doing things that didn't even make sense because it felt good to do. You know? Oh, thanks for responding, Janet. Yeah, that's the definition of the hustle trap. It's trying to solve a frequency problem with 3D effort. It means that your nervous system is broadcasting, I don't have it, so your actions are just reinforcing that lack. So we're going to stop the doing and start the being more so tomorrow on day 3. Mary, some things are moving and some things are not. Super common. The woman I was working with this morning is in that exact place right now where some things are moving and some things aren't, and I just don't know why. And then there was a client I was speaking with the day before yesterday who was saying, it's really strange. Like, I can manifest anything that I want except money. And she was like, well, what the heck is going on? Everything works except money. So we got to the bottom of that and things started flowing already in just those 2 days. It's that kind of thing. If you're in that some things are working and some things aren't, look at the things that are not working and ask yourself, okay, why am I doing these things? Do I have to do these things in order to make something happen because the how is not up to us? Am I doing these things because that's what I believe I need to do because I'm not relaxing and letting the how happen itself? There's usually going to be some misalignment there in terms of why you're doing the things that aren't really working out, or something. Maybe it's not about something you're doing. I don't know your unique situation, but usually if some things are happening and some things aren't, Do you feel more relaxed and at ease about the stuff that's happening? And is there more serious weight, like maybe finances or relationships? Those are usually the two heaviest ones. With the stuff that isn't working, there's usually a lot more weight there. Like to your psyche, it's more serious. It's life threatening, perhaps. It puts you in the survival state, as opposed to simple things that are happening because you don't have that survival state activated about those subjects. This is just random examples. This is not every single person. So if you're feeling a bit confused on how to tell the difference between your intuition or just your brain talking, highly recommend coming to the experience on April 28th because you will feel that. You will experience that there. But again, ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? And then my favorite journal prompt, and it's a thinking prompt too, but your brain is designed to go in a cyclical fashion with thoughts. This is how your neurology works. So when you write things down, it allows your brain to take your thoughts and organize them into a linear fashion. So you're not just cycling back through them. It gives organization and linear fashion to your thoughts, and it's a brilliant way of doing things. So my favorite prompt that I hope helps everyone is, what would I have to believe is true? So let's say that we're in Mary's case, and I'm obviously this is not Mary's situation because I do not know her situation, but we're in her same case where some things are landing and some things aren't. And we're thinking, okay, let's look at the things that are not landing. Oh yeah, they are heavier. I do feel a little more activated around those subjects. I do feel a little more survival state around those subjects. What would I have to believe is true to feel that way about these things? This one journal prompt changed my life. That sounds dramatic, but I am not exaggerating. That is extremely true, because I would feel all kinds of ways, and it was very hard for me at the beginning to differentiate, is this inspired action? Is this just my logic? What is the reason I'm doing these things? And I would go back to how I felt about it on the deepest level. And if I felt in some way activated, survival state, not good, below neutral, what would I have to believe is true to feel that way about this thing? Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So, for example, if it feels urgent, loud, or like you have to do it to save the situation, that is the brain in survival mode. If it's quiet, neutral, almost boring in its clarity, that is the command. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to anchor this clarity so it becomes your natural default standard. And I'm not talking about clarity, like, remember the inspired action piece. It's going to seem like it doesn't have anything to do with what you want. It's a thought you would normally think to do something you would normally do. You don't need clarity about that, because if you follow it, the clarity will come straight at you. Just keep on following it. There is nothing, I really want you to hear this. There is nothing scary in the unknown. I promise. It's not even possible. There is nothing scary in the unknown. Although it's dang scary to the brain. Remember, your brain is built and programmed based on everything it's experienced in the past and up until right now, right here. So to your brain, anything in the unknown is terrifying, and to your nervous system, which is why your subconscious and your nervous system pull you back to what's familiar, even if what's familiar sucks for you. Even if what's familiar, like, I've realized this in my life. I was in a really toxic relationship for way too long, and it was so stinking hard to get out of, but I hadn't learned all of this yet. After I learned it, I thought, oh yeah, because he was familiar. And not just him, those feelings that he would bring up, those like really yucky, big feelings, that's familiar. Our brain will literally become chemically addicted to whatever emotions are most commonly brought up by our most common thought patterning. Okay, so for example, you'll have a thought, it'll create an emotion. Every single thought that we think creates some level of an emotion in our bodies chemically. Emotions are chemicals. And this is why stress is a huge factor in ill health and disease, because stress chemicals affect our health. and so do repair chemicals. Okay, so every thought you think will create an emotional response of some type in your body. And then within seconds, your brain is literally designed to think another thought. It'll bring another thought straight at you that matches that emotion. Then you'll have another emotion based on that thought, another thought that matches that emotion, and it spirals. Okay. So one thing that I teach my clients is this is where anxiety originates from. Anxiety is actually a symptom of sympathetic dominance or survival state in the body. Our sympathetic fight or flight stress response nervous system has been activated for so long. It's having this symptom of anxiety. This is how things like anxiety turn into anxiety turn into an anxiety and panic disorder. This is how things like depression can turn into major depressive disorder, because every time, so for example, neuroscience for a tick, we have brain cells. These are the brain cells. And normally when I do this talk live, I will use slides. So for now, these are the brain cells. And every brain cell is covered with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tiny little antennae. And every single antenna is specific. It's a receptor site specific to one type of emotion. Okay, so we have tons of antennae for happiness, joy, elation, gratitude, excitement, love. And then we have tons and tons and tons for anger, hatred, jealousy, orneriness, despondency, whatever. Below neutral, above neutral, all kinds of antennae on our brain cells. Now, every 2-ish months, your cells will divide and multiply. That's how our bodies recreate themselves as we go through life. The old cell gets washed away, the new cell remains. And the new cell is going to have way more antenna on it specific to whatever emotions we were feeling mostly during the previous 2 months. And consequently, it's going to have way less antenna on it for whatever emotions we weren't feeling as much of during that previous 2 months. This is how anxiety turns into anxiety and panic disorder. This is how depression can turn into major depressive disorder. We're never taught that we are creating the function of our minds throughout our lives. We're never taught. I always like to use the analogy with my students about an electric car. So let's say that we decide to go buy an electric car. We will go buy it and drive it off the lot, but we have the option to press the self-drive button if we want to, where the car will drive itself for better or for worse. And our brains are the same yet opposite. We are born with a brain that drives itself. Your brain is always programming, whether we're doing it on purpose or by default. And we're always creating, whether we're creating on purpose or by default. And so we have the control. We can turn off the self-drive function and start to control our minds. And then when we give our minds the instructions, we program it with how we want to truly live. Of course, it takes some time. The first 2 months, that's just more receptor sites and less receptor sites, right? So you're not going to be a completely different person in 2 months, but what about 6 months? What about 8, 12? What about more and more and more months? I can tell you, I suffered with a severe anxiety and panic disorder. I have suffered with depressive states. I have suffered with, oh my gosh, the amount of mental, emotional challenges that I dealt with. I had a severe eating disorder for over a decade when I was a lot younger. And I got really serious about this. Like all of this manifestation stuff for me just came from really wanting to improve my health because doctors weren't helping. And no offense to them, doctors are great. We super seriously need them. But I was finding walls every time I tried to hit a new direction, there would be a wall. And so for me, and my mental health was getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So I really got serious about this. And I would say it took about-ish 2 years to feel like a completely different person than the severely mentally upset person, I will say, that I was prior. And that was me and the way that I was doing things and the timeline I was doing things on. Like, that's not everyone. It's going to have different timelines for each person. But your brain is neuroplasticity based. Like neuroplasticity has proven to us. I had someone ask me, is it truly possible? And it's not just one person. I have people all the time ask me, is it truly possible to reprogram your subconscious mind? Truly. And I don't talk about anything that is not science backed in my practice because that's just my own integrity. I choose to operate that way in my work. Yes, it is 1,000,000% possible to reprogram the subconscious mind. But you're never going to do it with methods that only activate your conscious mind because that's only 5%. Your conscious mind can only understand 5% of reality. The 95% lives in the subconscious and the nervous system and how you work with these things and then how you interpret energy, inspired action, all of these things, right? So it does take some time, but it should and can be enjoyable. Okay, so your homework today is to look at one thing in your own experience that you've been hustling for, one thing that feels heavy or forced or in any way like an uphill battle for you. And if you feel brave, you can drop that heavy move in the comments here. But we're going to look at it through the lens of day 3 tomorrow, where I'm going to show you how to collapse the delay there and move into the architecture of the now. So the loop will end tomorrow, but that is all of the lesson that I have written down today. I apologize that we went way over time, but I wanted to really flow with whatever came today because no matter what, anytime I do, whether it's an intuitive reading I'm doing, whether it's teaching, whether it's whatever I'm doing, if I'm working one-on-one with a client, if something needs to come through, there's a reason and there's somebody that needs to hear it. And so I hope it was helpful on some level. If you have any questions, ask them. I am currently reading the comments over here, trying to sell my place so I can receive my perfect place, having a hard time knowing what to do and what to receive. What to do, I would say spend more time with yourself, not just by yourself, with yourself. And there's a huge difference between spending time with yourself and spending time by yourself. That's really important. If you think you need to sell your current place in order to receive your new place, you are stuck in a 3D thing there. So we often think that we know what we need to do to create something, right? Your perfect place could come to you by any means. You'll never be able to predict it any which way. And of course, that makes sense with the next comment. That keeps me falling back into how. I'm going to tell you about how I ended up with this house. It's bonkers. So my husband and I rented a little beach house and it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, this is great. I mean, I did want something a little with a bigger yard. And I did want something in a different area of this city. And I did kind of whatever, right? But it was good enough. Are you catching this? After this, you should be catching these little things. It was good enough. So, okay, fine. We go into it. Move-in day comes, and we had rented the house based on we didn't know where we were going to land, so better to rent for the time being. Move-in day comes. Landlord takes off with all of the money. It was around $5,000 and the key deposit, and completely takes off. So now we have nowhere to live. Now we definitely have no house. And now we have $5,000 less. That was for a house. Okay, so there are 2 ways the brain can go here. One way, holy crap, now we're going to have to settle for anything. It's going to be in the area we don't want it to be in. It's definitely going to probably be too expensive. We're just going to have to settle for whatever. It's not going to be what we want. When the brain goes straight there because that's the mind trying to predict in order to help you out of a bad situation. But because I have taught this for so long, nope, not listening. I'm going to follow the 3 steps I teach, which you are going to hear now. Step number 1, what is every single thing I can be grateful for about this situation in this very moment? It's going to seem like nothing, right? So I made a list. Okay, well, it's not the dead of winter. So that's a plus. It's not pissing rain. we do have family that will support us in the meantime, so we're not going to be homeless. You know, we can't afford a storage unit, so we can put some things there. There's all kinds of things, right, to be very grateful for in that moment. Step 2. What is everything that I can actually do with what I have available to me right now? And the only reason I say this may sound like I'm diverting from what I said about how the how is not up to us, but in a moment of high stress, you need to calm the nervous system. Of course, I was doing breathing. Of course, I was calming my vagus nerve. Of course, I was doing these physical things, right? But mentally, no matter what physical things you're doing to help your nervous system calm down, if I'm flying high on stress, just forcing this list of gratitude, it's not going to work well. So make the list of grateful things. Then that immediately brings it down a bit. Then what can I do with what I currently have available to me? Well, I can look online to see what's available. I can ask around to see if anyone knows of anything in the area. Step 3 is the actually very, very, very hardest thing that you could possibly do. Step 3, get yourself into a state of positive expectation of what's to come. That's dang hard in these situations, right? But I did that. I said, okay, I have a list of statements that I use that bring me back to what I know of is reality in terms of quantum stuff, not the 3D BS stuff. So I would read my list of statements. All right, well, I can't predict how anything's going to happen. It's always going to be unpredictable. It's going to surprise me out of the unknown. There is nothing unsafe or scary in the unknown. All of these things, all of a sudden, I'm in a state of positive expectation. I have now done the things that I can do within my power in the 3D, and I'm sitting there stinking grateful for this list that I made of things to be grateful for about this situation right now. Then put it out to the universe. Forget about it. The rest is not my business. I'm going to go home and match this dang frequency. Morning, afternoon, night, match the frequency. So I started matching the frequency. 2 days later, my husband dropped me off at physio and he's sitting in the car. I had no idea that he had seen this place online. Had no idea. I had no idea that he put in a request to actually see it. Didn't know. He gets a phone call while I'm not even there in physio, and it's the landlord talking to him and trying to find out if he's creepy, right? Because he's just interviewing this new possible tenant. And this woman's voice pops up from the background. And she said, Darren, I'm on your Facebook. She's also doing some creeping to find out if this tenant is a good person. Are you engaged to Kelly Duffin? And Darren says, yes. Why? And she said, oh my gosh, I worked with Kelly 2 years ago. It was such an amazing experience. She helped me so much. I love Kelly. Come look at this house tomorrow. Just come look tomorrow. So we go. We look at it the very next morning. It is everything. It is in the exact area I wanted. Massive property. It's the exact style of house I wanted. It had this room. This is a big sunroom that I'm in. It had everything that I could possibly desire. And the landlord said, and it should be way too expensive, right? Out of what we wanted to spend on something. The landlord said, I'm going to give it to you for a really good deal because I can only give you 2 years here because I'm going to bulldoze this and build. He was a developer. So we said, done, we'll take it. They let us move in a month early. So there's some of the money back that we lost. The law, obviously, worked in our favor. We got all the money back through court. We moved in. We were allowed to do anything we wanted with the house. Landlord's amazing. He doesn't care because he's going to bulldoze it, right? So we did whatever we wanted here. And fun little things. Obviously, we're not going to dump money into that. But it was amazing. It was amazing. Then I said to myself, oh, I wish that we could just stay, like, for an undetermined amount of time till we decide where we'll travel to next, whatever. We travel a lot. So the landlord ends up coming over to check something out with the dryer outlet at the side of the house. And he says, by the way, I've got a lot on my plate. I'm not really, if you guys want to stay, just stay. Yes, please. So that is how this came about. So you have to I know that logically it seems that, of course, you'd have to sell your house to be able to afford the place that you end up in. There are countless stories I have of how that was not actually the case because of every which way things work out. So I want you to, although keep a head on your shoulders, like I'm very practical. As much as I teach this, I'm also very practical. It's not about blowing your life up, right? But it is about staying focused in the right directions and continuing to match the frequency. If you're matching the frequency, you will get inspired action. It will come. You won't be able to predict it. Just set the intention. Janet, I'm not really sure what direction to move forward with my business. That is my issue. That is a common one. I have come up against that one. Obviously, Janet has known me for a long time in my work from like the health stuff. Obviously, I have also gone through some changes in the way I do things, what I'm doing, and all of that. And go back to that why that I talked about. What feels good? If you find yourself not going in a direction that feels good because it doesn't seem practical, or it seems like you're going to blow your business up, or it seems whatever, those are 3D aspects. So you want the quantum energetic aspects pulling you here. So go back to the why. Why do you want to change your business? Is it really what you love to do, but financially it's not working? How can you stay in the lane of what you really love to do? Like this is what my coaching is for. When I work one-on-one with someone, I go right into their unique situation and we handle it. But the integration suite is also there that gives you step-by-step if you want to do it on your own. You're so welcome, Jolene. You're so welcome. All right. That's today. That was way different than I had expected, but that's the beauty of life, and that's how everything is more fun than it would have otherwise been. So I will see you here, same time, same place, same channel tomorrow at 1 p.m. EST, 4 p.m. PST, and whatever time zone that is for you. Yes, remember the why. Remember the why. A very, very, very brief example that just matches this why thing in case it helps as I close this out. I'm not going over an hour for you guys. A woman I was coaching was talking about how badly she wanted money, and because she needed money. She needed money. And I said, money is neither here nor there. It's completely irrelevant. Money's never what you want. It's the emotional experience you'd end up with after you spend the money. So what do you want the money for? And she said, oh, to buy a house. So I'll focus on the house then. And I said, nah, the house isn't really what you want. It's in the same category as the money. It's neither here nor there. Why do you want the house? And she said, well, because then I'll finally have my own space to host quality time with my family, and so I can spend more quality time with my family. Okay, how does that make you feel emotionally? If you knew you could spend quality time with your family, what do you feel emotionally about that? And she said, oh my gosh, just so fulfilled and elated and full of love. And so we did a immersion that I'll be walking you guys through on the 28th. And I sent her through a custom made immersion for her unique subconscious nervous system and her unique situation, where she got to experience that without anything changing in the 3D. And you can do this for yourself too. But we did that. And sure enough, the house came before the money, believe it or not. In a very, the story is way too long for right here, but the house came before the money, and then the money followed, and she spent a lot of time with her family. But if you're focused on the money, what if you had a bank account that was full of all the money in the world and you could never spend a single cent? You know, I'm just using money because it's a huge topic for people. There would be no point. It's not the money you want. The money is just another how that you think you need in order to get XYZ. There are infinite ways that things can happen. Okay, so I hope you have a wonderful day. Ask any questions continuing in the comments. I will be popping in there later. Go check out your voltage leak map for today's little assignment, and I will see ya tomorrow. Bye, guys.